interested in these two.
Yep.
Would you be able to play it for me so I can hear what it sounds like?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Sign it, please. So I've had a lot of experiences. I'm not saying that what I know is better than someone else, but I can tell you the number of experiences I've had are very, very long. And so I've been going around the country and sharing them with people. And when they told me it was going to be 45 minutes and then they were going to cut me off, I was like, that's not enough time. So what do we do? And I said, well, let's open it up to questions. Well, last night, this guy raises his hand. He says, the woods don't make any difference, do they? Oh my God, it's starting. And I said, really? You're a violinist. You've just ordered a 100,000-pound violin from Cremona, from the best maker, and you're going to tell him the woods he uses makes no difference. Good luck, buddy. Oh, we went at it. So, that said, does anybody have a question that's on their mind? And you'll do the whole room a favor by getting it started. You wait. In 40 minutes, everybody's going to raise their hand.
Okay, I'll start off. Carlos, he uses one of your guitars. What's so special about the Carlos Santana guitar?
Wow.
Is that a good
Carl,
question or a
I'm
bad
going to answer your question.
Yeah.
Carlos is a king. He doesn't care what anybody else thinks. He only cares what he thinks. And that's true for a lot of rock stars I've met. John Mayer doesn't really care what somebody else thinks. He cares what he thinks. Neil Sean from Journey. These guys care what they think. They have respect for what other people think, but in the end, they're going to use what they think is the right thing. So the first thing about Carlos is he has very, very high needs. He has very, very high expectations, and he holds my hands to the fire. He uses a shorter scale guitar, a 24.5-inch scale, which is about 3/32 of an inch less than an old Gibson. He likes the model that was what I was originally making. It's a shorter instrument, right? He likes big, thick, fat sounding pickups. He doesn't channel switch. He turns the volume control down and have it cleaned up. Uses very few pedals, and knows how to play to the last person in the last corner of the arena. I mean, he's so good that I can sit here and play a melody that he plays, and you all know it's Carlos in 1 second, and I don't even have an amp or a band.
Sometimes.
I mean, give me a break. It's unbelievable, right? I mean, it's just unbelievable. What a talent. Better. See, he started it, right? That's good. So does somebody else have a question? That's a good beginning, right?
What's your thought process?
He raised his hand and you started talking. Come on, we'll get to you. Come on.
What's your thought process when you design the pickup?
A pickup?
Yeah.
Well, the internet now says the only thing that's important is to pick up the guitar doesn't matter, right? It's not true, right? No matter what mic you put on Barbra Streisand, she's not going to sound like Paul Rogers. That ain't going to happen. It isn't going to happen. Got a whole lot of things. What kind of sound we're going after? How clear do we want it? How much is it more on the rhythm side or the lead side? How thick do we want it to be? Then it turns into what kind of magnet, how strong is the magnet, what kind of, how many turns, what kind of wire, the configuration, whether it's single coil humbucking, whether we want to get single coil tones out of it, whether it has a cover or not. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's an art form that Seymour Duncan spent his entire life on. And it's only one part of the art for us because we make pickups and guitars and we design tuning pegs and nuts and bridges and the electronic parts. But what do I think about it? In the end, I want it to be musical. When we did the Vela, it was like a Tisco Del Rey. Do you know what that is in this country? In the day, it was $99 in the Sears catalog when I was a kid. It was a piece of junk, okay? And it was like a Tisco Del Rey that worked, you know, and stunningly clear guitar. For somebody with a pedal board with 20 pedals on it, they need that clarity to get any tone out of the end of it at all. And the idea that the pedal board doesn't sound different when you turn all the pedals off is nuts. Just plug straight in and plug through the pedal board again. So, what do we think about? What's the goal? And then, in the end, how musical is it? If it doesn't match the goal exactly, but it's more musical than we thought, we'll leave it sit. Does that answer your question? Yeah. See, I can't stand the presidents of the United States that don't answer questions. They get asked one question, they answer another. Does that happen to politicians in this country? It's not okay. We got a new one that's just doing all kinds of interesting things. What'd you say? I think we're all praying that's what's going on. So anyway, I hope I answered your question. So does somebody else have a question? Yeah.
Do you think if you use heavy gauge strings on the guitar, which causes the wood to vibrate when you play, would that interfere with the sustain of the guitar?
No.
If the wood's vibrating?
No. No, as a matter of fact, you want it to vibrate. I have a guitar here that I bought on this trip that just goes crazy when you hit the string. You can test how good a guitar is with a stopwatch. A guitar that rings for 10 seconds is not as good as a guitar that rings for 45 seconds. You can test it with a stopwatch. If you have a guitar, you should buy guitars the way women buy shoes. Bring me 10 pairs and get away from me. Right? And then you should test how long look, this is a conversion device. You're hitting it with a force and a sound is coming out of it. It's a conversion device from force to sound. And for it to vibrate, in my experience, is positive, not negative. If it's absorbing the vibration and the guitar only lasts about 15 seconds, and I've measured guitars that last 17 seconds, it's not good. And a really good guitar lasts 45 seconds. Really good. So, do I think that the vibration is what gets in the way of the sustain? No, I think it's quite the opposite. The string is driving the guitar to vibrate. A really good guitar, you can lay on a big wooden table and hit the string and you can feel the table vibrate on the other end. So no, not my experience. I brought a guitar with me that I just bought that's vibrating like crazy, that's ringing for about 45 seconds. So no, I don't buy it.
Do you think the other components on the guitar have to oscillate together to make that sound? A tiny bit.
The answer to that
You think
question
everything's
is
oscillating a
very
tiny bit?
reserved yes. So let me go through it. If the nut is made out of the same thing you hook your septic tank to your toilet with, it's not a good idea. Now, most guitars in a store, they use PVC plastic for the nut. It's not a good idea. It's not really vibrating. It's that if you make it out of brass, let's exaggerate, it has enough weight to support all the harmonic content that the string wants to make. If you make it out of rubber, it's going to absorb the harmonic content. So the nut material makes a big deal. I'm not saying that it's vibrating, I'm saying that it is supporting the vibration of the string and transmitting it to the wood. I mean, if you put your finger on the nut, it is vibrating. I mean, hey, you come here. No, you. Put your finger on here and tell me if you can feel it vibrating. Yeah, so she can feel it right there. And it's transmitting the vibration through. I'm not sure it's ringing at that note, but it's definitely transmitting those frequencies to the wood. Anything that touches the string is gone. The tuning pegs, the nut, and the bridge. So let me give you a proof. If you buy a 350,000 pound old Les Paul and you change the tuning pegs to Grovers, it is now worth 225,000 pounds. You just lost 125,000 pounds because you changed the tuning pegs. But if you take a 57 Strat and you put a 5-way switch on it instead of a 3, it doesn't change the value one penny. The reason it changes the value on the old Les Paul is the entire industry knows that it didn't sound as good with the other tuning pegs on it. Therefore, the tuning pegs are changing the tone of the guitar. Okay?
Yeah.
It's proof. If you put the old tuning, if you plug the holes and put the old tuning pegs back on, you just regained 50,000 quid. It's the best repair. You'll pay $1,000 to have it put back on, and you just made 49,000 quid back. Good deal. Put the old tuning pegs back on. So in the vintage guitar market, the things that don't make a difference, they don't care about it. You change the strap button, nobody cares. But if you changed the pickups of the bridge, they care big time. So the tuning pegs make a difference. Having a plastic PVC nut on the guitar is not considered in our industry as good as having a bone nut on, because there is a difference. Same thing with the bridge. A bridge that's full of plastic parts is going to absorb the sound of the string. So to me, all the bits, as you call it, make a huge difference. A huge difference. And I have enough experience where we've changed the parts on my own guitars and all the guitars at work to know that I'm not just making it up. If you have 10 people in a room and they all agree, usually the experience is fairly accurate. Let me ask you a question. If you took the saddles off a 1963 Stratocaster and put them on your 1963 Martin, would it sound better or worse? I'm talking about putting Strat saddles on the acoustic guitar.
Would it sound better or worse?
Huh?
Not really sure.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
Our experience is it would sound worse. But you'll put it on your favorite Strat? You want to explain that one to me? We're trading adjustability for tone. We know on an acoustic guitar, a bone saddle sounds better, so that's what we put on. But on a Stratocaster, we'll put on these adjustable saddles because we want to be able to adjust the height. The amount of years that I've spent trying to figure out how to make an adjustable bridge that has the tone intact has been a lot. And, you know, one of the things that I would dream about would be if you were a customer, you would bring me, say, your 58 Les Paul with a Tune-o-matic on it, all right? And then I would set the intonation for the gauge strings, let's say used 11s, set it on there. And then I would go into the back of the shop and I would silver solder all the saddles in place permanently, like on an acoustic guitar. And I can tell you, you would hear a difference because you would not have this saddle that's loose on top wiggling when the string vibrates. It would be literally welded to the bridge, right? America, or he was doing this show or that show. I was hoping the guitar was doing this job and it sounded good. I was much more critical about the tool and how well a job it was doing for him. I saw John do something once at a dinner table, and I was sure I was in the presence of a genius. He literally sounded like Richard Pryor and Robin Williams at the same time at double speed doing comedy routine that you shouldn't have been able to do. I mean, and the drummer in the band acted like nothing special happened. I looked over and I went, oh no, he sees this all the time. This is normal for this guy. So how did I feel? Pretty astounded that we'd gotten the nod, but when you look at all the guitar companies and all the custom shop stuff that's going on, did he have a better chance with our mini humbucking narrow-field pickups to get a Jerry Garcia tone than Fender Custom Shop? Did he have a better chance than the Gibson Custom Shop? Would we have been waved off if we were given the results? Yeah, we had a better shot, and we would have got waved off just like that if I wasn't given the results. These people are highly results-oriented. He waves stuff off just like that, and when he says he loves it, he leaves it alone. It's interesting, I haven't been questioned about John Mayer on this whole trip. And I appreciate you asking, because I think it's interesting for everybody to hear, right?
Well, I'd like to say that I own Les Pauls and Strats, and I've played them all in my gigging life up to about 8 or 9 years ago. I put them all down because I bought a 513, and it does everything I want it to do, so thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. So let me tell you a secret about a 513. If you have all the connectors inside soldered, it'll sound better. And we found that out. Do you have an early one?
It's 2008.
I might take it to a repairman and have them solder all the connections. Turns out, we found out that when you use the connectors on the pickups and inside the compartment, because it's very complicated wiring, that it was easy for us to assemble. Still complicated guitar, but if you want a little bit more warmth out of it, if you solder the connectors, it makes a difference. Just like soldering the bridge parts that I was talking about earlier.
It's interesting.
So, did I
Okay.
answer your question about how I feel about John Mayer?
Yes.
I see it as a job. I see him as a client. I see him as I'm trying to do my job. I mean, I told him on the phone the other day, I said, John, I'll do whatever you want. Just tell me what it is that you want. I'll try to get it done. You know, he was getting ready to go out on the world stage, and if he didn't drill it, tone-wise and playing-wise, they're going to shoot him. He wanted to convert from being a singer-songwriter into known as a guitar player, and he did a brilliant job. That's really hard to do. I mean, can you imagine a singer-songwriter, let's just say Elvis Costello says, I don't want to be known as a singer-songwriter anymore, I want to be known as a guitar player. He's smart enough to do it. I mean, that's not something he attempted to do. Paul McCartney's an extraordinary guitar player, still known as a bass player. Right? Probably best known for his songwriting and singing, right? But he played the guitar solo in Taxman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go listen to that and scratch your head.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question? So I told you people start asking questions. Who started this mess? Somebody started this mess. You started this mess.
Yeah. Can I ask another one?
I don't know. Should we let him or somebody else get a chance? Sure. Nobody's
Yeah?
asking a question. Go.
Okay, fine. Can you give me your rationale on your nut? You're talking about sustain all the time. I'm always trying to get the most out of every guitar.
Yeah.
I admit I don't have one of your guitars, but someone's trying to get me to buy one. I looked at it, my first reaction was the nut. And my problem with nuts, and I've had a great discussion with one of my luthiers, is that when I look at some guitars with the nut, they channel down so far that the problem is that when the string wants to vibrate, it's actually getting muted because it's sitting in that channel. The answer that we came up with was that you actually just make a groove on the top of the bone nut, allow the string to sit, position itself, and then it can sing. So I noticed with yours, your string is in this channel.
If you take a piece of sandpaper and a block or a big file and you grind the top of the PRS nut down so that it's just a slot, it ain't gonna sound any different. You are very close to the truth. How it's curved this way for the string and how it's curved this way for the string make a huge difference in the way it sounds. If it's too angled, it's only going to touch the front of the nut. If it's straight, it's only going to touch the front and the back. You want it to have a curve, and you want it to be rounded the right amount for the string. These nuts that we put on the guitars are full of bronze powder, so it's a plastic with about 40% of its volume is bronze powder, so that it's heavy. It's almost like a plastic injectable brass nut. And we find we get as good results out of that material as bone. So that's why we use it. Bone is the accepted nut material. It's really cow bone, really, bovine bone. You're close to our conclusions. I've never noticed a difference from having the nut cut well and then bringing the top down and leaving it the same. I've never heard a difference. We tend to let the high E string be buried about 1 diameter. So if the string is 10 thousandths in diameter, the slot will be 20 thousandths thick. If the low E is 46 thousandths in diameter, we'll let the slot be about 60 thousandths deep. And you're talking about a 46 thousandths diameter string where the slot is 20 thousandths deep. You're talking about having less of the nut surrounded. If the nut is cut incorrectly, it will damage the tone. You are completely right. I have a lot of experience around this, and I don't find the depth of the slot to be the problem. I find the curve and the radiuses to be a huge problem, and the nut material is doing it all. That I find to be huge. You're swimming in the right swimming pool, even though you guys don't have swimming pools in this country. Somebody told me the last one, you guys don't have swimming pools. Is that true? Yeah, public ones, yeah. That's what I thought. We don't have those here. I was like, really? I hope I answered your question.
I think we got close.
That's up to her. Does he get to ask another question? She likes you.
Before you set up, there is the gap when you use your guitar. It's a good question, really. Were there any guitars that you looked at and thought, the sound is wonderful, what it is? And also, somewhere perhaps you took the bits and you thought, well, this is just not much, but it just sounds amazing.
All of that and more. I was the repairman in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Richmond, Virginia area. And if there was a Telecaster that refretted 3 times and the slots didn't have any wood left in them, I was the one that got the repair. They would drive to me. They would take their guitar repairs to any repairman. When they had a real problem, they go, crap, I got to see Paul. And they would drive out to see me. So if there was a Firebird that had stock and glue on 3 times with Foxy, Epoxy, and they couldn't get it glue on anymore, I would get the repair. And then I would take it and I would get a deposit. And they'd leave and I go, I have no idea I'm going to do this, but I'd figure it out. I was always touched by the instruments that musicians had been touched by. So old Strats, there were 57 Strats that came in, old Les Pauls, old Telecasters, SGs. When I carved the first neck I liked better than the old Les Paul I owned, I thought that was a good day. When I saw people play, at that time they had this thing called a Jumbotron, which was a big TV at the concert hall. Now it's a commonplace thing, but at that time it was very new. And to watch somebody play one of my guitars up on that screen was astounding. I thought that was cool. Look, if you steal all from one place, it's stealing. If you steal from 10 places, it's research. So, and I was doing a lot of research. So, what is it about a Telecaster bridge that's good? What's about a Stratocaster bridge that's good? What's good about a stop tail piece on a Les Paul Jr.? What's good about a 2-piece bridge on a Les Paul Standard? What's good about a Rickenbacker bridge? Or what's not good about a Rickenbacker bridge? What's not? Did you know that you can slide the truss rods out of a Rickenbacker bass right there on the bench? They just slide right out. I didn't think that was a real good idea. The truss rod on a Fender bass doesn't work. If you notice it, the neck will always bend right at the neck joint. And because they put it in curved, and I can draw you a picture about why it doesn't work, but I didn't think that was a good idea. So I got a job to make a fretless neck for a jazz bass, and I would put the truss rod in the way Gibson used to put them in, and the truss rod worked perfectly. The problem is you couldn't adjust it without taking it off, because the way on a Fender bass, the nut is very high above the pickguard. So, every little teeny thing that I saw, I tried to absorb. And all the things that were wrong about the guitars that were hard to repair, I tried to fix. Most guitars with Floyd Rose nuts, in my old shop, you couldn't adjust the truss rod without taking the Floyd Rose nut off, because it covered up the truss rod. That didn't sound like a real good idea to me. Floyd Roses, on the other hand, were a good idea. You're basically welding the guitar in tune. And then Eddie showed up and goes, I don't want to do it that way. I'd like to have fine tuners on the bridge. And Floyd adjusted it for Eddie. The original ones, you would have to tune it up and lock it very, very, very carefully and pray like hell that it didn't go out of tune. That was interesting. Jazz.
Yes.
You keep looking at me like I got a time restriction.
We're getting there.
Okay, why don't you tell these good people how much time I have left?
If we could keep it down to sort of 5 or 10 minutes, it'd be good. Sorry, everybody. It's always my fault.
Is the term slave driver, does that mean something in this country?
You love it.
No, you know what I do love? I love that this many people are interested in guitars. I love that there used to be 12 manufacturers and 12 brands, and now there's 24 manufacturers and 600 brands. And you don't know how to sift through what's going on, and they want to know something about what's going on. He's in the back asking me questions. Doesn't own a PRS, but he's interested, and he wants to know what I think in relation to what his discussions with the repair people is. I'm interested in that. He wants to know what I studied, wants to know that. She's got every syllable being absorbed, probably going to repeat the whole thing in 5 years. So I'm interested in how interested this country is in guitars. This is a guitar country. Make no mistake, per capita there are more guitar stores in this country than probably any country in the world. Per capita? Wow. It's a big deal what's going on here, right? Japan's a guitar country, Benelux is a guitar country, USA is a guitar country. Of all weird things, Germany's a guitar country. They sell a lot of guitars in Germany. There are countries where you don't sell any guitars. Indonesia, they make them there, they don't sell them there. So, I haven't been to Africa, although there's supposed to be a huge music scene there. I haven't been to South America, I've been to Mexico, but pretty much everywhere else I've been. China is not a big guitar country yet. It's not. They want to be. They're trying to learn. I have a friend named Yodai, who is the DJ that plays Western music in 20 cities every day. And they've allowed him to do it by the skin of his teeth. I mean, literally, like, they can't really stop it, so they let it. This guy was doing an elegant job doing it, so they let him do it, right? And he's trying. He's trying. Acoustic guitar is a much bigger deal in China than electric guitars. But guitar is part of the culture of England, period. I'm sorry, you've got all these national heroes, the national gems called musicians, you know. It's a big deal what goes on here. So, that I like. Now, if I have 5 more minutes, you can leave and you can come back.
Okay, I'm gonna go wash
Jess,
up.
let me ask you a question. You've been listening to this tirade, me and my soapbox. You guys say that in this country, stand on the soapbox? I've been on the soapbox for days. Do you have something you want to know?
Do I have something I want to know? I know, but I'll tell you something about you that this is the reason I've been with Paul for 13 years, right? And I happen to get a few conversations that he has with other people that have done things as long as Paul has in this industry, and the passion and the wanting to get the best of absolutely everything through and not taking second best is exactly why I work for this guy. He's absolutely wonderful to be about. The conversations we have driving around the UK about everything guitar, it's all about the guitar. Obsessed. And that's why we're doing great. And, you know, thanks everybody for coming down and seeing the man.
So last time we were in the car together, I had a problem. Now, who was asking the John Mayer question? You were, right? I needed an old Strat because he plays an old Strat, and I needed one that sounded the same. And he and I spent 3 days on the phone trying to gather the parts to build one, so it wasn't 30,000 quid, it was 3,000 quid. We found a neck off an old Jazz Master in Benelux. The guy traded me for his hotel fee coming to our event. I thought that was a good deal. By the way, it's exactly the same neck. It's just at the headstock's ever so slightly different shape. Found the pickup from a 61 at Peach.
Yeah, exactly. So from this
Found,
is yeah.
found all the parts in this country, ordered all the body, ordered everything. When I got home, it all started to arrive, and I assembled the guitar. You know who does that guitar now? John's got it. Because I said, if I can't build an old one, I can't build a new one. And he went, you're right, send me the guitar. And he really liked it, but we found old pickups for it, wound them up and did the whole thing. What fun.
So how often have you driven around and like a 61 Strat pickup just magically appears and a neck from, oh, I've got this, I mean, this doesn't happen, right?
And actually, it's not so magic, so let's go down. You got a store in a town, right? And people are coming in all the time with their guitars, and somebody, well, my husband died, I've got this guitar for sale, whatever. And so they'll buy these guitars off the people in the town that were deposited here over a long time. That pickup broke, which happens. So in the repair box, in the repair thing, they were, well, I've got this old pickup. Well, if you're around this stuff enough, you do have one, right? And I wanted to know what the magnets are made out of. I didn't want to know how it was wired, so I'll have that, as you guys say. And I sent the magnets off, never to be recovered, to find out what they were made out of. That was fascinating. But I just don't think it's that. I think you got to get in and start asking. I mean, we've been digging around in these stores in England or UK for years looking for old gems, and because this is in the river, it's like, if you go in the river, there's going to be fish. I mean, it's going to be fish, right? So I appreciate what you're saying, but it's been fun, right? I'm always on a mission.
Yeah, but it always just happens. Like,
What didn't happen this time, I've been looking for an old microphone the whole trip. Zero, nada, nothing. I haven't gotten anything.
you want me to take
failed me this time.
No, you want me to take you back to Denmark Street again, don't you?
You wouldn't take me there.
Not this trip. The last trip. So Paul's been coming here for God knows how many years, right? And the rocker pot, he's landed on a Sunday morning. I go and pick him up on Sunday afternoon. I say, right, okay, what do you want to do? Let's go and have some lunch by the river, or let's do this, or something nice. And Paul's like, I've never been to Denmark Street. Take me to Denmark Street. So that,
He was mad because it took us 2.5 hours to drive there. It was no good, right?
Yeah.
Boston. All right, so look, from the bottom of my heart, everybody, thank you for coming. I appreciate that you came here. I hope you've absorbed some of this stuff. Your young ones have absorbed some of this stuff. And because right now, our experience of the world is this, and I'd rather it was this, right? You're laughing. The person was walking across the road as we're driving in here, going like this, the car was hitting. That's just normal. Sorry. You got a lot of dead people because of this. All right, I'm basically saying people shouldn't be texting and driving or walking across the highway while they're texting, right? Right? It's not a good idea, right? All right, so thank you very much. Thank you.